Hello guys, my name is Ace and you're watching the all-new Ace Station. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy XIII, the Japanese version. Before we get started, I want to point out that this video is not an in-depth review and it's not intended to point out how everything is done on the controller. It's purely intended to point out what to expect when the US version comes out. I will touch on graphics, sound, gameplay, and finally give my overall opinion. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments and I will reply accordingly. First, let's get graphics out of the way. In short, this game is simply gorgeous, from the environments to the flashy effects down to the character models themselves. Trust me when I say this recording of the game doesn't do it justice. The game does feature both full motion video and real-time cutscenes. Sometimes a cutscene will occur in full motion video and then switch to real-time, and if you blink you won't even notice. During real-time, I zoomed in on the characters and rotated the camera around them. I was blown away with the high quality each model had been put into them. From the hair flowing to the individual pieces of cloth on an article of clothing, it was simply jaw-dropping to look at. This game certainly makes use of the Blu-ray technology, and it definitely shows. Let's talk a little bit about the 360 version of the game. I'm glad the Xbox users will have a chance to play Final Fantasy XIII. However, please be prepared for a loss of quality. Now, I'm not saying that the 360 can't handle the game. It's the disc format that screws the Xbox version. Final Fantasy XIII has been reported to contain over 30 gigs of video, which makes up a lot of the game's cutscenes. The problem becomes apparent due to the fact that a DVD cannot support more than 5 gigs on a single layer. This means that the 360 version will be placed on what is expected to be around 4 DVDs. However, this still doesn't provide enough room for the game itself. So in speculation, it is assumed that they will lower the resolution of the full motion video to bring down the size. Now if you're not a graphic junkie, then kudos. However, if you have a PlayStation 3, I would recommend this version. Now before you start sending your hate mail, let me just say that I'm a multi-console owner and I love each system equally. This is just an overall weighing the difference between the PS3 and the Xbox versions of the game, and knowing this information helped make me decide which platform to choose when the US version is released. Let's talk about the music of the game. Regardless of the new international trailer, which I'll talk about in a minute, the game does feature what you all expect from a Final Fantasy video game, so don't worry. The game has melodies which change with the drama, the battles, and the comedy bits found throughout the game. I'd like to point out that a few scenes in the game featured a harmonica that remind me of something you would hear from the anime Cowboy Bebop. And in short, it made me smile because it fit the scene perfectly, and the melody was simply awesome. People have been complaining about the English international theme song for the game and says that it has nothing to do with the Final Fantasy XIII story. I'd rather not get into it, but rest assured that the song My Hands has everything to do with the story and does not take away experience from the game. Moving along to sound effects, you will feel right at home here. If you've ever watched Advent Children, you will recognize a lot of sounds pulled from the movie, as well as old traditional sounds heard from previous Final Fantasy entries. One disappointing thing I will point out, so far I have yet to hear the celebration song we all know and love when after leveling up and defeating enemies in battle. I'm hoping that they threw it in there somewhere because I'd hate to think they would remove something so familiar to us all. Now for the voice acting. I own the Japanese version of the game, thus I can say after watching the English International trailer, I have to admit, I think that this game will sound better in English. It's almost as if it was supposed to be done in English in the first place. I'm not sure exactly why I think that, but it's very rare to have bad Japanese voice acting in a game that the Japanese made. I do feel that they dropped the ball for their own people. Another thing I'd like to point out is that I'm very impressed that they redid all the full motion video and real-time cutscenes to lip-sync the characters' mouth movements in English. I tip my hat to Square for doing that for us. On the gameplay, moving the character around is simple. You have the ability to spin the camera around in 360 and are also able to zoom in on the character models to get a close look at the details, which I highly recommend doing. There are area restrictions that prevent you from looking up when you pull back the analog stick, which can be frustrating when you're trying to take in the scenery. It seems that they threw a lot of hard work out the door when the camera won't allow you to enjoy what they've created. However, the camera does not restrict gameplay, so no worries there. The party members move along with the character much like Final Fantasy XII. And it's kind of nice and more realistic than disappearing inside the body of the main character like previous Final Fantasy entries. I'd also like to point out that there are only 3 party members active at a time, both in and out of battle. Now let's talk about what everyone's been waiting for, the battle system. While you're running around, you can visually see the monsters in the area map and world map, much like Final Fantasy XII. No more random invisible encounters. However, when you run into an enemy, it goes into the traditional turn-based time active battle system. What a mouthful. When in battle, it will remind you of the good old Final Fantasy VII days, but cooler. Now they've introduced an active combo system. The active combo system, or I like to call it the free-flowing tactics, allows you to select a series of moves you want your character to perform when your turn is up. This allows for constant flowing battles and makes it seem like you're not waiting for the active time meter to fill up before an attack. As you progress in the game, you'll be able to add even more combos to perform devastating attacks to your enemies, making it beautiful to watch when executed. Another new thing I should point out is the fact you can only control your leader during battle, and that the AI controls the rest of the party. Even though I feel a little let down at the loss of party control, I can stress that the AI is very good in battle situations. I should also point out that if the leader falls in battle, the game is over. The AI apparently doesn't know how to resurrect you, but the game is very forgiving. Simply hit retry and it will start you back roughly about 30 feet from the enemy, allowing you to access your menu and prep before trying again. Now, in boss battle, if you die when you hit retry, it will start you in the menu screen and again allowing you to make changes for your party before attempting to get your ass handed to you again. Another new feature in battle is the Optima change. This name might be changed in the US version of the game, but for now, Optima change will do. Look at Optima as if changing your party's role, or in another way of looking at it, changing their job. For example, when in battle, your leader might be a fighter, the second character is a healer, and the third is a blaster. Now, when you use Optima change, you will find your leader is now a blaster, the healer now a fighter, and your blaster becomes an enhancer. This basically allows you to switch roles on the fly depending who your enemies are. The changes are quick and will be often used to help gain the advantage. This sounds cumbersome, but trust me, it's very easy to use and very easy to understand when playing. And finally, let's talk a little bit about the menu and the XIII system. The menu navigation is a very familiar layout. If you played previous Final Fantasy games, it should take only minutes to get it all down, and very easy enough for newcomers to the franchise. So no problems here. Now on the XIII system, this is how you level up your character. After each battle, you gain points which are used to enhance yourself and your party members. Remember the sphere grid system from Final Fantasy X and XII? It's very similar. Pick the role you want to specialize in and cash in your points, following the grid to unlock new abilities and unlock permanent stat boosts to your character. Again, this system is primitive and it's even easy for newcomers to the franchise. Now, for my overall opinion of this game, it is Final Fantasy. It's linear, and it's straight shot from beginning to end. It's a love or hate game. If you don't like the characters, you won't like the game. That's how every Final Fantasy game has been since the dawn of time. So in closing, that is basically everything I wanted to share about Final Fantasy XIII. I apologize knowing I probably missed out some details people are interested in. So feel free to leave comments, ask any question you'd like, and I will reply as soon as I can. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for my next video, which will be about the game Risen, found on the Xbox 360. Until then, I am Ace, and thank you for watching the Ace Station.